The one thing that separates winners from losers. Introduction: the difference nobody sees. There are two people standing at the starting line. They have similar dreams, similar opportunities, similar fears, similar doubts. And sometimes, they even have similar talent. But years later, one of them is living a completely different life. One has built something meaningful. One has developed discipline. One has become financially stronger. One has become confident. One has accomplished goals that once seemed impossible. And the other is still talking about what they are going to do someday. So what happened? Did the winner have a better life? Did they have more money? Did they have better connections? Did they have more motivation? Sometimes, yes. But not always. Because there is one thing that repeatedly separates people who win from people who remain stuck. And it is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is not talent. It is not motivation. It is the ability to keep moving when the results are not coming yet. That is the difference. Winners understand something that losers often forget. The absence of immediate results does not mean the absence of progress. Think about a seed. You plant it in the ground. You water it. You protect it. You wait. For days, nothing appears. You might look at the soil and think, nothing is happening. But underneath the surface, something is happening. Roots are forming. Growth is taking place where you cannot see it. And eventually, what was invisible becomes visible. Your life works the same way. You can work on yourself for weeks and see nothing. You can save money and feel like you are still poor. You can study and still feel unprepared. You can exercise and still dislike what you see in the mirror. You can build a business and hear rejection after rejection. You can create content and get almost no views. You can apply for opportunities and receive rejection. And this is where most people quit. Not because they cannot succeed, but because they expected success to arrive before they were required to become the person capable of achieving it. Today, we're going to talk about the one quality that separates the people who eventually break through from the people who continuously give up. And by the end of this video, I want you to see your struggles differently. Because what if the obstacle in front of you isn't proof that you should stop? What if it is the test that determines whether you deserve to move forward? Stay with me. Because the next chapter may completely change the way you think about failure, discipline, and success. Chapter 1: Winners Keep Going. Imagine two runners entering a marathon. They both train. They both start strong. But halfway through the race, one runner becomes exhausted. His legs hurt. His breathing becomes difficult. He looks ahead and realizes there are still miles left. He thinks, maybe I can't do this. So he stops. The second runner is equally exhausted. His legs hurt too. He also wants to stop. But instead of asking, how much longer? He asks, can I take one more step? That question changes everything. He doesn't need to finish the entire marathon right now. He only needs to take the next step. Then another. Then another. And eventually, those small steps carry him across the finish line. That is how winners think. They don't always have more strength. They simply refuse to make a permanent decision based on a temporary feeling. You may feel tired today. Keep going. You may feel discouraged today. Keep going. You may have failed. Learn and keep going. You may not see results yet. Keep going. Because sometimes the difference between success and failure is not another year of effort. Sometimes it's another week. Another attempt. Another phone call. Another application. Another video. Another conversation. Another morning where you choose discipline instead of comfort. You don't know how close you are. And that's why quitting is so dangerous. You can quit one day before the breakthrough. You can stop one conversation before the opportunity. You can abandon the business 1 month before it becomes profitable. You can stop studying just before everything finally starts making sense. You can give up on yourself right before your identity begins to change. The problem is that success rarely announces itself. It doesn't knock on your door and say, Congratulations! You have 5 days remaining. You usually have no idea how close you are. So your job is not to predict exactly when success will arrive. Your job is to continue becoming the person who is prepared when it does. And that's why the winner keeps going. Not because they know they will succeed tomorrow, but because they refuse to let today's disappointment decide tomorrow's destiny. Chapter 2: Losers Quit When It Gets Hard. Let's be honest. Almost everybody loves success. People love the idea of being wealthy. People love the idea of being fit. People love the idea of becoming successful. People love the idea of having freedom. But very few people love the process required to get there. The process is uncomfortable. The process is repetitive. The process is often boring. And sometimes, the process feels completely pointless. That's when the difference appears. A person starts exercising. Day 1 feels exciting. Day 2 feels manageable. Day 7 becomes difficult. Day 30 becomes uncomfortable. And eventually, the excitement disappears. What happens next? The person who depends on motivation quits. The person who has developed discipline continues. This is one of the biggest differences between winners and losers. Losers ask, "Do I feel like doing it?" Winners ask, "Does it need to be done?" That's a completely different mindset. You don't need to feel motivated to study. You don't need to feel inspired to save money. You don't need to feel confident to start. You don't need to feel ready to take action. You need to understand that feelings change. Your commitment must be stronger than your mood. There will be mornings when you don't want to get out of bed. There will be days when your goals feel distant. There will be moments when you wonder whether everything you're doing is worth it. Those moments aren't necessarily signs that you're on the wrong path. Sometimes they're simply the price of walking a difficult path. Remember this. If you only continue when things feel good, you will never discover how far you could have gone. Chapter 3: Winners Take Responsibility. There is another difference. Winners take responsibility. Losers search for excuses. Now, this does not mean everything that happens to you is your fault. Life is unfair sometimes. People can disappoint you. Opportunities can disappear. Circumstances can make things harder. You cannot control everything. But you can control your response. And that is where your power begins. Imagine 2 people who both lose their jobs. The first person says, "This country is the problem. My boss ruined my life. Nobody wants to help me. There is nothing I can do." The second person feels the same fear, but eventually says, "I didn't choose this situation, but I will choose what I do next." That sentence changes everything. The first person waits for circumstances to change. The second person changes themselves. And when you take responsibility, you stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You begin asking, "What can I do with what I have?" Maybe you don't have money. What can you learn? Maybe you don't have connections. Who can you meet? Maybe you don't have experience. Where can you start? Maybe you failed. What can the failure teach you? Maybe you're behind. What can you do today? This is where personal power begins. Not when everything becomes perfect, but when you stop giving your circumstances complete control over your future. Chapter 4: Winners Understand Delayed Gratification. One of the most dangerous traps in modern life is the desire for immediate rewards. We want fast money, fast success, fast relationships, fast growth, fast results. But meaningful achievement usually requires patience. A farmer doesn't plant a seed in the morning and dig it up that evening because he doesn't see a tree. He understands the process. He understands seasons. He understands patience. Yet many people treat their goals differently. They start a business for 2 weeks and expect wealth. They exercise for 10 days and expect transformation. They read 1 book and expect wisdom. They save for 1 month and expect financial freedom. They upload several videos and expect millions of views. Then they say, "It doesn't work." But maybe it wasn't that the process didn't work. Maybe they simply stopped before the process had time to work. Delayed gratification means choosing something valuable later instead of something pleasurable now. It means saying, I could spend this money, but I will save it. I could watch another hour of entertainment, but I will study. I could sleep longer, but I will wake up and work. I could quit because I'm frustrated, but I will continue. Every time you choose your future over your immediate comfort, you strengthen yourself. And eventually, discipline becomes easier. Chapter 5. Failure doesn't scare winners. Failure is one of the greatest filters in life. It removes people who only wanted the reward. And it reveals people who are committed to the journey. Consider a young entrepreneur. He launches his first business. It fails. He loses money. People laugh. Friends tell him, I told you it wouldn't work. He feels embarrassed. But instead of seeing failure as an identity, he sees it as information. He asks, what did I misunderstand? What did customers actually want? Where did I make the wrong decision? What should I do differently next time? He starts again. The second attempt fails too. But this time, he understands more. He starts again. Eventually, something works. People later call him successful. They see the company. They see the money. They see the results. But they don't see the failures underneath them. They don't see the nights when he doubted himself. They don't see the rejection. They don't see the mistakes. They only see the final chapter. That's why you must be careful comparing your beginning to somebody else's finished story. You may be looking at someone's harvest while you are still planting your seeds. Failure isn't always telling you, stop. Sometimes failure is asking, are you willing to learn? Chapter 6. Winners do what losers keep postponing. There is a word that quietly destroys dreams. Tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll start. Tomorrow I'll exercise. Tomorrow I'll study. Tomorrow I'll save money. Tomorrow I'll build the business. Tomorrow I'll become disciplined. Tomorrow I'll change. But tomorrow keeps moving. And eventually years pass. One of the greatest advantages you can develop is the ability to act before you feel completely ready. You don't need the perfect plan. You need the next action. If you want to write a book, write one page. If you want to get fit, do today's workout. If you want to become wealthy, learn something valuable and start managing your money. If you want to build a YouTube channel, publish the video. If you want to improve your life, change one behavior. Small actions compound. Your future is being built by what you repeatedly do today. So stop asking, when will I feel ready? Ask, what can I do right now? Because action creates clarity. You don't always think your way into confidence. Sometimes you act your way into confidence. Chapter 7. Winners control their response. You will experience things you don't deserve. You will encounter people who disappoint you. You will face rejection. You will experience delays. You will make mistakes. You will have bad days. You cannot control everything that happens. But you can control what happens next. Imagine someone insulting you. You have two choices. You can immediately react. Or you can pause. That pause is power. You can choose your words. You can choose whether to walk away. You can choose whether to learn from the situation. Your emotions are real. But they don't have to become your master. A successful person isn't someone who never feels anger, fear, sadness, or frustration. A successful person learns how to experience those emotions without allowing them to destroy their decisions. You can feel afraid and still act. You can feel tired and still be disciplined. You can feel disappointed and still continue. You can feel uncertain and still take the next step. That is emotional strength. Chapter 8. Winners focus on the long game. Imagine looking at a skyscraper while it is being constructed. One day you see workers digging. Another day you see steel. Another day you see concrete. At different stages, it may look incomplete. But nobody looks at a building under construction and says, this building is a failure because it isn't finished today. Yet we do this to ourselves. You are under construction. Your financial life is under construction. Your mindset is under construction. Your career is under construction. Your confidence is under construction. Your discipline is under construction. Stop judging your entire life based on one unfinished chapter. Think long term. Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Who do you want to become? What skills will you possess? What habits will you have? What kind of person will you be? Then work backward. The goal isn't to transform your entire life overnight. The goal is to make today's version of you slightly stronger than yesterday's. One day at a time. One decision at a time. One habit at a time. One disciplined action at a time. Chapter 9. The real battle is with yourself. The greatest competition you will ever face is not another person. It is the version of yourself that wants comfort more than growth. The version of yourself that says, "Just 5 more minutes. I'll do it tomorrow. Nobody will notice. It's too hard. Maybe I'm not good enough." That voice will appear. And you must learn not to obey every thought you have. You don't have to believe every negative thought. You don't have to act on every emotion. You don't have to remain the person you were yesterday. Every day gives you another opportunity to vote for the person you want to become. When you wake up early, you vote for discipline. When you study instead of scrolling endlessly, you vote for your future. When you save instead of wasting money, you vote for financial freedom. When you keep going after failure, you vote for resilience. When you tell the truth even when it's difficult, you vote for character. Your identity is built through repeated choices. And eventually, those choices become your life. Chapter 10. Keep going until your story changes. Now we arrive at the most important lesson. You may not be where you want to be. But that doesn't mean you are destined to remain there. Your current situation is not necessarily your final destination. Maybe you have wasted time. Start again. Maybe you've made financial mistakes. Learn. Maybe you've failed. Try again. Maybe you've disappointed yourself. Forgive yourself and move forward. Maybe you've quit before. This time, don't. Your story can change. But it changes through action. Not wishing. Not complaining. Not waiting. Action. There is a version of you that you haven't met yet. A stronger version. A more disciplined version. A wiser version. A more confident version. A version that doesn't collapse every time life becomes difficult. But you will never meet that version if you keep choosing comfort over growth. So today, make a decision. Not a temporary emotional decision. A real decision. Decide that you will keep going. Decide that failure will teach you. Decide that rejection will redirect you. Decide that slow progress is still progress. Decide that your circumstances will not determine your identity. Decide that you will become responsible for your future. And most importantly, decide that you will not quit simply because success is taking longer than you expected. Because one day, you may look back at the period of your life that felt the hardest and realize that was the chapter where everything changed. Final message, the one thing. So what separates winners from losers? It isn't always intelligence. It isn't always money. It isn't always talent. It isn't always opportunity. The difference is often much simpler. Winners continue. They continue learning. They continue improving. They continue adapting. They continue taking responsibility. They continue after rejection. They continue after failure. They continue when nobody is watching. They continue when the results are invisible. And eventually, something happens. The person who kept going becomes the person everyone else calls successful. But they don't see what happened before the success. They don't see the discipline. They don't see the sacrifices. They don't see the failures. They don't see the thousands of small decisions. They only see the result. So if you're currently in a season where nothing seems to be working, remember this. You may be closer than you think. Don't quit because you can't see the roots. The seed may already be growing. Don't quit because your progress feels slow. A mountain is climbed one step at a time. Don't quit because you failed. Failure can become the classroom where your future success is built. Don't quit because nobody believes in you. Learn to believe in the work you are doing. And don't wait for motivation. Build discipline. Because motivation asks, "Do I feel like doing this?" Discipline says, "This is who I am now." So take the next step. Then another. Then another. Keep learning. Keep building. Keep improving. Keep moving. And one day, you will look back and realize that the greatest thing you ever did was not becoming perfect. It was simply refusing to stop. You kept going. And that changed everything. This is your life. This is your opportunity. And the next chapter is still unwritten. Master your mind. Transform your life.